Welcome into Mile High Territory. Ryan Spilborghs, Troy Renck with you. It is trade deadline today, and we have a lot of things to kind of cover. The Rockies, whether they're going to make a move. They did make a big move today with Brenton Doyle. We'll get into that. A reaction from you, Troy, on Tarik Skubal. We'll dig into that a little bit as well. And overall, as this Rockies team kind of moves towards what feels like a new frontier with their front office, kind of break down the sentiment so far that I've been able to hear from around the league with this group. But how are you today, Troy?
Doing fantastic. It's been a lot of Broncos training camp. I love the trade deadline. I miss covering it. There's very few days I miss covering baseball on the daily. This is one of those days, but I'm helping out a little bit today in our coverage, so I enjoy it.
Okay, well let's reflect on something that happened on Sunday that I think before we get into the trade deadline and Brenton Doyle getting moved was Kyle Freeland, 251 career starts as a Rocky, which is second when it comes to active players. You have Aaron Nola that has over 300 with the Philadelphia Phillies. But yesterday on Sunday, Kyle Freeland threw a complete game, his very first complete game as a Rocky. And, like there was some emotion there. It was emotional for him because it's been a rough year. He had close to 7 ERA. It was a very hot day on Sunday, and all of his pitches were working well. He got into that ninth inning, and I would have tackled Warren Schaefer if he went out there to try to bring in a reliever. So they let him get it, and even Warren Schaefer was going to go out there and ask Kyle if his arm was going to fall off. If it wasn't, he was going to let him go ahead and get those final outs. The reason why I thought for Kyle, it was a little bit more emotional than normal was there's still this question mark, and we don't know yet, if Kyle would get moved. And so it felt like that could have been his last Coors Field start. Like there could have been in the back of his mind. We don't know. But at least at the end of the day, that was really cool. First complete game by the Rockies since Chad Kuhl did it back in 2022.
Yeah, I thought he'd had a couple because he almost had a no-hitter at home years ago. I think that was in
2017.
Yeah, I remember I was in Cincinnati coaching in a baseball tournament, and we were following along like, holy crap, he's going to get a no-hitter at Coors. And, I just assumed he had a couple completed games. I knew it was a small number, but he was, I think, second among active pitchers in terms of games started without a complete game, and he wanted it. I remember the emotion of Kyle Freeland when the year they got into the playoffs and how important he was to that run. And he is that guy. He does pitch with his, kind of his outward emotion on both his sleeves, not just one. Sometimes I think it gets him in trouble. As we've said, I think sometimes he overreacts to things that hitters do. But I love the way he competes. The compete gene is there. And I know that field, it's as much as he loves it, it's also brought him to tears. At some point, as you're a pitcher, you have a love-hate relationship with Coors. You love working there, you love being there, but that is just a place with not a lot of elasticity and give, but good for him. And based on what I saw in his post-game interview, Spilly, both with you on the field and then in the clubhouse, he clearly had in his mind it might have been his last.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt because, who knows how his arm felt, if it was barking or not. But there's no question when I saw certainly in the clubhouse, he had an edge to his interview, basically, kind of. You could tell it was like, well, if this was going to be it, I was going out, guns blazing. I'm leaving it all on the field. And good for him. Good for him. And if he got traded, I'd be happy for Kyle as well. He's given the Rockies everything he can give. He's had a mixed bag of a career, but again, you have to understand the context when you measure Rockies pitchers and starters. No one has ever been here as long as he has. And so most don't get to the point where like, oh, he struggled with this or that. And it's like, yeah, but most guys get moved. De La Rosa was close, but I mean, Ubaldo got moved. And Jeff Francis, ultimately he probably was, getting that way, but Jason Jennings got moved. So I give Kyle all the credit in the world for the way he's competed and represented his home state, his home city, and he deserved that.
Yeah.
In a season that he's been disappointed by, he deserved that moment.
Yeah, it was a great moment. It was a great moment. And for the Rockies, I mean, we're still, not far away from the end. The deadline happens at the end of our show. Whether Sugano gets moved or, if Kyle gets moved or Senzatela. But what we do know is that Brenton Doyle, the two-time Gold Glover, Made a lot of sense for the Rockies to trade Brenton Doyle. He's been injured since last year. He's dealt with some stuff off the field from last year. I mean, this guy is one of my favorites to have covered. I love him. I love his story. I love the fact that comes from a small Division III school. Went to Shepherd University, has a tattoo of a wolf in sheep's clothing because he feels like, he's a wolf that's gone through all those different trials and tribulations to get where he's at. And so the Rockies, we saw Brenton Doyle was activated on Friday and took some great at bats. He looks good again. He looks athletic. And he goes to a White Sox team that's got to be really fun for him because they're leading the division. And the White Sox have made some moves already. They also added Luis Castillo from the Seattle Mariners. So if you're going to go to a place where you leave Colorado and the family and the friends that you've made here, but to go to a postseason run and to a place where, you're going to have an opportunity to play and reestablish yourself, possibly get through the arbitration process and all that stuff. This ends up being a great deal for Brenton Doyle. And the return, we'll find out. We'll find out what ends up happening with the players he got in return for Brenton Doyle.
Yeah, listen, I didn't know Doyle at all. And it's funny you said that because people used to ask me about people I covered, and I would say, I love this guy, I love that guy. And they're, oh, I hate that guy. I can't stand that guy. And Tulo's name, frankly, comes up a lot in that conversation. And I'm like, I love Tulo. Love covering him from afar. He wasn't everybody's favorite, especially opposing teams, but even other journalists. Doyle, I didn't know. Doyle so I look at this trade literally just in a very sterile fashion that it was time for him to go because I just don't know if he's ever going to hit. He just, this year has 1 home run. He's hitting .214. Last year he didn't hit. He had some issues going on off the field that in terms of, I don't know what we can say or not, but it was just with family. It's a family issue that certainly would affect your mentality and your concentration. So I want to be sensitive to that. But when you go a year and a half without hitting and being injured, with their depth in the outfield, you have to move. You have to move him because Condon has to come up. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's almost ridiculous. Even Veen. Now, Veen, I understand, is not a good defensive outfielder, and he's still banana route stuff and doesn't get great jumps. But at some point, you've got to move him up because it sends the wrong message that, hey, beat the door down, beat the door down. There's nothing left for Condon to accomplish. We just watched Jack Caglione this past weekend. He's going to have 2 years big league service time by the time Condon comes up. What are we doing? So I wish Doyle well. I saw Sean Chacon get traded to the Yankees. I could go through the list of guys I covered in the playoffs that got traded, and ended up in a winning environment. And so I'm rooting for them, and this is a good spot for him. I don't know what his play is going to look like. Maybe he's a defensive replacement. Maybe he platoons a little. I don't know that situation well enough. But I do know they got a starting pitching candidate back, right? And what is it, Adams?
Mm-hmm.
I'm blanking the name right now. But my son who works in baseball, he helps with some of my scouting reports, and I talked to a couple of other baseball people I know. I mean, this is a right-hander, 6'1", 200-ish, 190, 26. He projects as a fifth starter type. He throws 93, 94, a sinker, cutter, slider. His best pitch seems to might be his curveball, but he's got a lot of east-west to him, Spilly, and he's got a little funk to his delivery, more of a lower arm slot. So is he a fifth starter? Is he a guy that could come out of the pen? But you and I have talked about, these are the kind of guys they have to take flyers on. These are because you look in their minor league system right now, again, they don't have any pitching on the cusp. They don't, in terms of starting candidates, they're just really not there right now. So I like the trade. And they get a 16-year-old kid who's an middle infielder. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
Situation. He's 16 years old. But the Adams guy they get, he's a right-hander that, in theory, he should be up this season. If not, they're going to add him to the 40-man, I'm sure, this offseason. And they are going to have a candidate for the rotation. And the more of those, the better when they can be internal.
Today's episode is sponsored by the ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program. Kratz, we love our pups.
We do. And I can't put Bella in a bubble. So you know what I'll do? I'll do the next best thing for her.
That's right. The ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program offers customizable accident and illness plans that can fit your budget, your lifestyle, and even your pet's particular quirks. ASPCA Pet Health Insurance has been around for almost 30 years and has covered over 1 million pets And when it's time to submit a claim, it's easy. Just use their app and receive reimbursement for eligible vet bills directly into your bank account so you can get back to focusing on what really matters, and that's your pet. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. Again, one more time, aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance.
Yeah, I mean, one of the words I got from one of my buddies with the Chicago White Sox was Adams is a command guy, good curve, but he hasn't seen him pitch since the spring. So good curveball, and to your point, like a little bit funky east to west. Not always my favorite type of pitcher for Coors Field, but it also works if you're a strike thrower. So and it's important that you're getting arms in return, no matter what your deals are. In the case of Brenton Doyle, he gets traded. Jordan Beck is now back on the big league roster because I think part of the reason for Charlie Condon not being here like right away is you're still trying to limit some of that service time. I mean, that's the
No,
unfortunate reality.
and I'm not naive to that, but he should be up in September at the very latest. I mean, obviously, I'd love to see him get a cameo in September. I get the service time issue, and I get with the labor thing coming up, but at some point, Condon has to come up. He's got to come up. They're not giving you any trophies for hitting 30 home runs in AAA. And so, and the other thing with Adams is with that kind of, pitch mix, maybe he ends up in the pen too. You're talking about a guy, you obviously would like to see his fastball play up a little more, but he may not have it. If it's a sinker, it's not going to suddenly become 97 miles per hour. But that arsenal could play out of the pen. If he's a seventh inning guy or whatever, like those are things, like you said, you try to get pitching in every one of these deals. And as we sit here, folks, we're about 40 minutes away, whatever it is, from the deadline. We have fully expect, Antonio Senzatela to be dealt, and maybe one other guy, whether it's Victor Vodnik, pick one of the outfielders. Now the Astros went and got Varsho. Did you hear from any of your people? Were they close at all on Moniak and or Jake McCarthy?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean,
their system's pretty light. Houston's system's not great, so that
it was 27th in baseball as far as their system's concerned. But I'm not sure. I mean, the McCarthy one, it felt like it was getting harder and harder to pry him from the Rockies just based on the athleticism, the personality. Like, he's been a really nice fit for Colorado. Moniak makes some sense to still move him. But they're also looking at some of the splits. If you're a visiting team, if you're an evaluator, you're seeing the home road splits are pretty significant, and he's done a lot of his damage against right-handed pitching. So it's not like an overwhelming, you're not going out of your way right now as like, oh, Mickey Moniak's my top choice or Jake McCarthy's my top choice. I think Jake would have fit better with Houston, just based on the athleticism. It also makes sense with Dalton Varsho from Toronto because there's some power there. He's a really good defender in center field, and it feels cost controlled. A little bit easier to work with when you have, a guy that's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I wanted to get your reaction from Tarik Skubal. So we found out on Saturday night at midnight, which was a little disappointing because we were hoping it was going to come down to the wire. But the Los Angeles Dodgers land Tarik Skubal, and Skubal felt, I think we talked about this. It was a no-brainer that he was going to get moved as soon as he had the nano surgery. And even with the Tigers, because they were so far below 500, I was like, oh, they're definitely going to move on from him because there's a risk he gets hurt again. So you're not going to run that risk of, hey, let's hang on to him. He gets hurt and you get nothing in return. In this case, and I know a lot of people have been upset about it when it comes to the return that the Dodgers gave up. A lot of people said this was light for Tarik Skubal. I think part of what the narrative here is they don't know what they're talking about. The return for Skubal is actually pretty good. The River Ryan's a really good pitcher. He's coming back from Tommy John. Kid throws 98 miles an hour. They gave up another reliever that throws hard, really hard. And then they gave up a kid from Double-A that was putting up monster numbers. I was disappointed in Milwaukee. Of all the teams that I wanted to land Skubal, I wanted it to be Milwaukee and have this Skubal-Mizorowski combo for the next 3 months, which would have been the same thing as like the 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks when they had Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling. I wanted that. I wanted that for baseball because it would have felt like the little guy, David, has finally got much more than a slingshot to take down Goliath. And instead, the Brewers don't land him. They land Dustin May instead. So disappointing that Skubal ends up with the Dodgers. But do you think this ruins baseball, having the Dodgers landing the best pitcher available?
Yeah, if the Dodgers get Skubal and Brewers get May, that's like getting the Timu version, the Gucci knockoff. And May's been fine, but he's not Skubal. And Skubal's the 2-time Cy Young winner. He's been the best pitcher in baseball probably for 3 years in the collective. Not necessarily this year. He's not better than Miz this year. And he had the surgery, but he's come back. He's been effective. Yes, for those who think the Dodgers are ruining baseball, this is like just sending them into hysteria. We're going to have a year-long lockout, no baseball, and it's the Dodgers' fault. I understand that sentiment. I heard you on your show today on Loud Outs on MLB. We get why the fans are frustrated. You and I live in Colorado. Rockies fans, I don't say they hate anyone, but if they hated anyone, it would be the Dodgers. Rockies have never won a division title, so there's issues with the Dodgers. But Spilly, if you want to take issue with one thing, it's the settlement the bankruptcy court did with Frank McCourt that allows the Dodgers to benefit from their TV deal and not share all of it. And they get about $334 million in TV revenue that they're not sharing. They're making about $850 million, $860 million. Shohei Ohtani, the advertising they get alone for him would fund some small third world countries. So we get it. It's frustrating. And the fact they deferred all that money for Shohei. And I don't know he does that for anyone else but the Dodgers. That stinks. I get it. But these things aren't illegal, folks. The other thing that people forget is the Dodgers, I think in the last top 100 prospect ranking, didn't they have 8 guys?
Mm-hmm.
So when they make a trade like this, that's like if you have this huge bucket of water. My friend Eric Goodman said this earlier today to me. You have a big bucket of water and you put a teaspoon in and pull it out. And that's what it's like when they make a trade like this. If that's another team, it's literally like you putting a huge shovel in and taking out, and it feels like you're just gutting your system. Dodgers just keep rolling them out. And so you can hate the Dodgers for it, but they have the prospects. They have the prospects. And here's the thing you and I talked about in the previous pod. This was the year for Milwaukee to go for it. We understand they have an infrastructure. It works. They don't want to take away from their minor league system. But for me, the whole idea of prospects is to help you win a championship. And there's going to be moments, whether you're playing poker, whether you're, at dinner and you're going for that extra dessert, where you're just all in. I'm all in. I'm eating the dessert. I'm pushing my chips in. I'm jumping the canyon. Like there's a point in life where you go for it. Not every day if you're the Brewers. This felt like the time. And they could have easily matched the Dodgers prospects. Now, maybe the Tigers didn't like them. We don't know that conversation. But in terms of value, Spilly, the Rays and the Brewers easily could have matched the prospect package the Dodgers put together. Because River Ryan's electric. My son was with him in Great Lake Loons years ago.
He's good.
This guy's electric. He's just been hurt. He's a two-way guy converted to pitcher who's just now been hurt. But I don't want to just focus on hating the Dodgers, folks. Can you reserve some of your venom for a team like the Brewers? They had the opportunity to go for it. Nobody was telling them they couldn't. And they decided not to, and they get Dustin May. So if they get knocked out by the Dodgers and Skubal beats May, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because you had an opportunity. And I get that everyone hears that Boris was putting it out there. The only team he's going to re-sign with are the Dodgers.
So what?
That's most big trades. Randy Johnson, CC Sabathia with the Brewers, Randy Johnson with the Astros. You're going for it. You're going for it. Like, I don't know. As mad as I think I've heard from people today about the Dodgers, I'm more disappointed in the Brewers because I wanted the Brewers to have a chance to win it.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean that the Dodgers are going to run away with it. I mean, like
Dodgers, they could still lose. They almost did the last 2 years.
Exactly. And it's the same thing I say all the time when it comes to this luxury tax or not the luxury tax, but putting an overall salary cap. I was like, the salary cap doesn't change the fact that if you don't cover first base, if Garrett Cole covers first base, you're playing multiple games in that World Series with the Yankees and the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers are clearly better. The Padres could not put away the Dodgers in 2024. They had them on the ropes. It was 3-1. They couldn't put them away. Last year, Like a salary cap doesn't change the fact that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa didn't have a big enough secondary lead to score on a contact play. All that is Toronto wins the World Series, and are you talking about the evil Dodgers right now? No, you're not. You'd be like, yeah, of course the Dodgers should go and get Skubal because they lost on the World Series in games 6 and 7. So this narrative has always been dumb to me. The Dodgers have a history of their farm system going back to Jackie Robinson, Don Newcomb. I mean, think about all the international players that they've signed, Fernando being the first to go get a Japanese player in Hideo Nomo, the 5 rookies of the years in the 90s when they had, Mike Piazza, Eric Karros, Todd Hollinsworth, Raul Mondesi. Like, what are you talking about? They've been doing this forever. They've been doing this forever. Now, the TV rights deal is legit. That's a legit problem. But as far as how they've developed in the minor league system to create this farm system to make trades, get out of here, because every other team could have done the exact same thing. So I think that's unfair. But I do like the fact, and I think if you were a Dodgers fan, you love the fact that they're always all in. And to your point, I'm really disappointed in the Brewers. I'm disappointed in the Rays. I'm disappointed in the Phillies, right? Like teams, the Rockies. Like honestly, if the Rockies wanted to land Tarik Skubal, they could have put a package together to land Skubal. That's the point that you're making, is every team in baseball could have put this package together to land Skubal. Like they could have. It's just that you didn't want to. And that's the difference.
Yeah, and it's not every team based on their budget and self-imposed payroll cannot pay Skubal. We get that. But this package, pretty much every team in baseball could put that package together that the Dodgers put together. The difference is the Dodgers have confidence they're going to keep him. We get that. But if you're Milwaukee, to pair him with the Miz, I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, they get Dustin May. He's had a nice year. He's got about a 4.38 ERA for the Cardinals. He's a nice pitcher, but he's not Skubal. And the Rays end up with their consolation prize of Freddie Peralta. Maybe he gets his stuff back. He's been a huge disappointment for the Mets. Their whole team's been a disappointment, but he's not Skubal. I mean, the thing is, when you get a guy like Skubal, health willing, his worst outing in the playoffs is like, 6 1/3 and 3. You're going to be in the game with him. Dustin May could go 1 2/3 and 5, or he could give you 6 and 1. Like, that's why when you get a Skubal and now you pair him with Yamamoto and Sasaki. I mean, if they have Glasnow and Snell in the pen, that's when you hate the Dodgers. I grew up when everyone hated the evil empire, the Yankees. The difference was the Yankees didn't have the farm system outside of, when Gene Michael was running it and Steinbrenner was exiled from baseball and banned, where they had Pettit, they had Posada, they had Jeter, they had this core 4 of players that they didn't move, but they made a lot of trades during that time. But their system, they did it kind of like the Dodgers. We'll trade and pluck a star here, pluck a star there. But again, the Dodgers are going for a three-peat. And you look at every top player on the market since the Mookie Betts trade, they've been in on. Betts, Freeman, Ohtani, Kyle Tucker this offseason, Yamamoto is the top free agent pitcher. They understand, and Brian Kitty was doing a piece on this on MLB. I don't know which show he was on doing it, but Bill James talks about how the top of the pyramid, like that's the focus, it's the stars. Because everyone can gather kind of the base. You need the base, but that's your 4th outfielder. That's your number 5 starter. Like, if you're going to win a championship, you can never lose track of the top of the pyramid, the hub of the universe. And for them, it's Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, Yamamoto. So, I mean, it's like 7 dudes at the top. And that's why we're like, Milwaukee, if you put him, Skubal, with Miz, I mean, it's just tantalizing. It was just tantalizing. I mean, as a fan, I wanted to see it. Yeah. It's not like, I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm just saying, as a fan, at some point, the GM sitting up there and was like, oh, we just could not take away from our farm system. Then what the hell is it for? Your farm system has shown they have a ceiling of getting us to the playoff and losing in the first round every year. Like, that's my point. You're right. It's a great farm system. But I want to win the Indy 500. I don't want to take 6th place.
No, I don't want to just drive around and make laps. Yeah, I want to win this whole thing. All right, so We did see a big trade today with Adley Rutschman from
Yep.
Baltimore to the Boston
What
Red
are
Sox.
Baltimore? What are they doing? What are the Orioles doing? They put Jackson Holiday's name out there. Rutschman one guys in trades. Come on, Spilly. What are they doing?
Well, and what's wild is when we were chatting about Hunter Goodman, we said, look, the return for Goodman would be massive, and I didn't think anybody would come close to doing it. Adley's on the IL and brought back 5 players in return, including, I believe it was 4 in the top 10 from Boston, and there was a year of control for Adley on the back end. So he's on the IL. He's nowhere near the offensive player Hunter Goodman is this year. And essentially, the Baltimore Orioles received 5 players in return for Adley. So we'll see what kind of offers the Rockies got back, or at least we're trying to get for Hunter Goodman. What's cool about this front office for the Rockies, and I think I've shared this, and they are transparent. We will hear today, a little bit later on in the afternoon before the game, Paul DePodesta will meet with the media and go over everything, which we have never had that to that level of transparency in all my time. Even when Dan O'Dowd was around, I just don't remember this level of transparency, which you can ask him. If you get to Coors Field today and you go, Paul, did you have any offers for Hunter Goodman? And if so, was it something that you guys were interested in taking? He will answer, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, and Depot's been transparent. So is Josh Burns to a large degree. Now they're not going to go over every detail and every name, but I think they'll indicate, yeah, we had offers on the table, we weren't comfortable with it, and they will explain why and say like, well, 3 years of control for a power hitting catcher wasn't worth 4 players we could get in return, and 2 we just weren't sure on. Like, I do think they'll be pretty transparent because the market for catching right now, if they really wanted to move Goodman, unfortunately, the only team left that would seem desperate enough to give up the farm would be the Yankees. And I don't love their farm system. Now, if you tell me you get Will Warren and you pick a prospect, I mean, you could start a nice package with Will Warren, but it was, Jason Dominguez. They don't need another outfield.
No.
Like, that's the least of their thing. I mean, and so the Yankees, if you want to give me, and they wouldn't, you want to give me Ben Rice and Will Warren? I mean, you could have had Rice, I'm sure, a year ago to this day. But these are the kind of packages they're looking for when you have 3 years control at a position of power that is unique with Goodman. But I think when we talk again later this week, we're talking about a trade for Senzatela. It makes no sense to keep him, even if you just take a flyer on a AA guy or a Class A guy, because you're not re-signing him. And and Vodnik, I know, has been available. Victor, kind of like Seth Halverson, it just looks like it's reached its end here for me. And nothing against the guy. It looks like a fresh start candidate. And I would look to, Bernardino's been so good. I'm a little surprised he didn't go earlier. But, it's been more of a starting pitching market than a relief market. And that's unusual. Usually the trade deadline has no starters available worth of crap. And it's every team competing for the same relievers. So I think we're going to see the Rockies end up better in the long run for this, that they end up with at least one starter that hits out of these trades. Where you're like, remember that deadline? They got that deadline. It was funny. You brought up last pod, Spilly, about how they could have been in on Pete Crow Armstrong when the Mets
Trevor
traded
Story.
him. Trevor Story would have been involved instead of Javi Baez. And that was like, my God, I forgot all about that because I was out of baseball by then. PCAs and an MVP candidate. But they did, it looks like Senzatela has been traded too. I don't know what that number is, but if you can see, I'm on my phone, so I can't grab it, but it looks like Senzatela has been traded as we speak here right now, which is not a surprise. He had to go. But Baseball America did a thing where basically 70% of the prospects involved in trades either never reach the big leagues or never make an impact, literally have a WAR of 0 or negative. So this is risky business. There's no question. The prospects get general managers fired because you can talk them up, but you lived it. Nobody saw you as a top prospect and you became a contributor on a championship level team, whereas you passed guys in the system that were getting paid and that were considered the guy, and they never did crap. And so it's risky when you're trying to project out 18, 19, 21-year-old kids, and the pitching's so damn good now, you just don't know if the best college player is going to hit. You should. In the NFL, you would never think that. So I don't know if you have the details on the Senzatela trade, but it looks
I
like
haven't
he
seen it come
is
across my computer
moving.
yet, but look, we'll leave it at this. With Antonio Senzatela, what he gave to the Rockies has been a great story. His turnaround this year has been amazing. A lot of this had to do with the fact that they changed the front office and some of the pitching people that have been around this organization, giving him a new cut fastball, empowering him with a new pitch, creating a little bit more separation when he started throwing this sweeping slider that goes with the cutter. And so now he gets to start a new version of himself, which I think like there was a good chance if Senzatela didn't make any changes, Senzatela would have been non-tendered and out of here. I mean, like he was not in the rotation anymore.
He
was
would have been
really
DFA'd. He would have been DFA'd during the season. I mean, I couldn't believe he wasn't DFA'd last year. He was literally the worst starter in baseball.
Yeah.
At one point, the opposing teams were hitting 354 off him. So that's like Tony Gwynn with power. Every guy. I mean, so, and then like you said, give some credit to the front office. They look at it, hey, change grip, change this, get this run, get this left. Like that's why when you hear Spilly and I a little encouraged, we're still realistic, but encouraged by some of the moves and things this front office is doing. This is things that go on in really good front offices, folks. They take players and make them better. They have a vision for how to develop them. They get guys that profile for both, their park and their philosophy. And that's the start. Now you have to do it over a number of years. It's quarters in the jar, and then look up and go, man, we got a lot of money here. It's going to take time. But at least you feel like there's a vision and they have a plan in place.
Yeah, no question. So, I mean, congrats to Senzatela. We'll certainly with our next pod, especially if we continue to get more trades in the next hour or so, we'll certainly jump back on and do it. All right, Troy, I got to head to the field because I'm curious what Paul's going to say today. So I'm out.
See you, Spilly. I'll see you soon.
All right, there you go.